Hey YouTube, it's EvanMagician34, and real quickly, I've got your confirmed September 2012 ban list. We're just going to run over it real quickly. I figured it would be easier than showing you the cards. First off, we got Banned, Bryanak, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and Future Fusion. Okay, Bryanak, he's just kind of been a little unreasonable for a long time, and while he's not nearly as crucial or powerful as he once was, in a lot of ways, it's just a change that needed to happen. Sorry, guys. Future Fusion, kind of a similar story, but the difference is it's a lot more offensive currently, whereas Bryanak was more offensive in the past, I think, than it is now. But either way, they're good changes, and I like to see that only 2 cards were banned. That's awesome. Limited, we've got Inzektor Dragonfly, Inzektor Hornet. That's good. I think Dragonfly probably would have been enough, but it was good to put Dragonfly and Hornet to 1. It's enough to really curtail the deck's power and drain that consistency that made the deck so unfair. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon at 1. That's the second hit to Chaos Dragons. Once again, kind of killing that uber consistency. It also makes the deck really vulnerable to point removal and things like DD Crow. One bottomless trap hole and the deck could easily be ruined. I think it may be the end of Chaos Dragons as a tier 1 deck, but, time will tell. Tsukiyomi at 1, my only complaint about that is that it didn't go higher. I realize it's kind of the tributary thing that you don't really ever, hardly ever do you take a card from 0 to 3. It's almost like admitting something's wrong with the ban list, but it's good to see Suki back in any form. I doubt it'll have much impact, really, in the next 6 months. But it's just good to have it back. Chaos Sorcerer, well, 1, I don't know if that was that much of a difference from 3, but basically it prevents the Chaos decks from, getting too out of hand. If those 2 things weren't enough to hit the Chaos Dragons, other Chaos variants, it's nice to take Chaos Sorcerer down just a little bit. Ivagishki Gust Kraken is one of those things where it's like, okay, you got to remember the ban list is aimed primarily at the OCG, not the TCG. And for those of you who are uneducated, OCG is more Japan ways, whereas TCG is pretty much almost the entire remainder of the world. So in a lot of ways, you kind of wonder why the game caters to one country versus everybody else. But then again, you got to remember this game originates from that area, and that's why they get everything before us. In some ways, it functions like a testing ground, but because our meta is different thanks to TCG exclusives, once again, it kind of brings up the question of, weren't things more balanced when we had 2 separate ban lists rather than one unified one? I hope it's not just for the sake of Worlds, because that's comical at best, but there you go. Basically, I do like this, even though it hasn't had much of an impact in the States. It's nice to have Ghost Kraken at 1, just because it prevents something annoying from happening in the future for us. It was a very wind-up-y kind of feeling thing. Sport coming back, that's just fine. I don't think it's going to make plants super viable, even with some of the other changes, just because there's no glow bulb. Zen Matey going to 1, thank you. That should, once again, kind of take the teeth off an annoying deck. Zen Matey and Gust Kraken, both going to 1, it's like 2 archetypes, but it's the same card. Ultimate Offering going to 1, I realize they're trying to keep gadgets from getting too silly, but I don't think it's going to be a big problem. But still, it's nice to see that they care, I suppose. Anyway, moving on to semi-limited, I don't think the Ultimate Offering change is going to be too big of a deal, but there you go. Tour Guide from the Underworld goes to 2 finally. Sangan didn't go away, but still, it kind of tones down what was a very common play for a very long time, so that's cool. Kalute going to 2. Hey, Black Wings might almost be played. I'm still going to emphasize almost because Whirlwind is still at 1, but hey, I mean, Kalute's not terrifically offensive as long as Whirlwind's at 1, so that's cool. I don't mind seeing Black Wings again, and the people who, try to take it to tournaments are still going to lose because the deck doesn't quite have the tier 1 power yet, even with Kalute at 2. Sorry, Black Wing lovers. True story. Rescue Rabbit, yeah, that deck, Dino Rabbit, just kind of refused to go down, and while some people were saying the Zars were going to get hit, I think taking Rabbit to 2 in a lot of ways makes the deck reasonable enough. I never really had that much trouble with Dino Rabbit recently. It was always a fairly easy matchup, but there you go. Its performance at events speaks for itself. Debris Dragon at 2, that's cool, that's balanced. It lends a slightly more controlling atmosphere to the game that it's been sorely needing, in my opinion. So I like Debris at 2, that's cool. Mystery Earth, that's going to enable some Chaos variants to kind of do some cool things with agents, but that's okay, because it's not going to be as annoying as it was. I think that's reasonable. Reasoning at 2, that's fine. It's cool, but it's a very, it's a risk-oriented card, so that's not a big deal. Hero Lives, yeah, that keeps a few oddball things in check and a few speedy KO, OTK potentials from going off, but realistically, I don't think it's a big deal at all. It's one of those kind of less noteworthy things. Hieratic Seal of Convocation, It's one of those, obviously, where you're just trying to keep silly things from happening, because Hieretics could easily threaten us in the next 6 months. So it's kind of a preemptive strike in some ways, so that's cool. Duality at 2, not a big difference. In some ways, it's going to offer more utility options for things like heroes, so that's actually nice because it gives you more slots to do other things, create new options, reinvent the deck a little bit. And Emergency Call going to 2, similar story, but if you love heroes, or at least like them, and I'm kind of on that boat too, you don't need to worry because you still have 1 reinforcement in the army and 2 E-calls, and Shining didn't get hit like some people were predicting, so that's cool. No problems there. Mirror Force at 2, I mean, hey, if Torrential's at 2, really? Do we need Mirror Force at 1? Not really. Now that somebody comes into, I mean, basically everything threatening that happens for monsters these days happens before they attack anyway, so that's just fine. I mean, it may even pave the way for Goyo to come back in the next format or two, so I'm fine with Mirror Force going to 2. That could have some really good fallout in the long run. Unlimited Necros at 3 now, not really a big deal. While he can be annoying, he's not like a game-breaking card. He's not broken. He, in the current format, does not need to be a 2 at all, so I think him being at 3 is a good move. Same goes for Marshmallow, broken in another era, more or less, but not right now. So, good move. Teleport at 3, I think that's also just fine. There's not really a reason for it to have been at 2. So kudos for putting Teleport to 3. That'll be kind of fun, and it'll harken back to another era. I like that. D-Draw at 3. I don't think Destiny Heroes are going to be crazy, but it does open up some possibilities for other hero variants, just besides the traditional Gemini version that we've been seeing. So Destiny Draw at 3 is actually pretty intriguing, and I like that. I'm curious to see what'll happen in the next 6 months with that. I think that'd be something to mess around with, definitely. At least for your local tournaments, try it out. Swords at 3, level limit at 3. I mean, that's almost like the same thing in a lot of ways. Level limit because of Ixies is not nearly so threatening. That's why it and Binder have been slowly creeping back. Swords, 3 MSTs, and Heavy Storm. Enough said. But it's self-expiring too. But cool to have him back at 3. And last but not least, Cylinder at 3. That's kind of cool. But just like its friend up here, Mirror Force from Days Long Departed, it's just the fact that it's not very threatening by the time they actually get to attacking. In fact, a lot of times they'll get blown up. But with it at 3, that does offer some interesting burn options and new deck options. So overall, I'd say it's a really good list. It distinguishes itself from the March 2012 list in that they actually made significant changes, which the last list had very few significant changes. So in a lot of ways, I think this may revive the fact that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was kind of slipping for the last 6 months. The last list was really kind of an insult. It was a cold slap in the face to the players. So hopefully this one will prevent that big slippage that they saw in the last 6 months where people are starting to taper off and sell out and go to other games like Cardfight and Magic. So that's cool. And I think it's very necessary. So hopefully this list finds you happy, or at least realizing that it was a good thing to do. And if not, that's fine too. Post your comments, your reactions to this ban list down below. And until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and check out my channel for more cool videos.